So good afternoon and welcome to the 2019 Alberta Pulse Growers AGM. I'm Darcy Hilgartner, current chair of the board, and I farm by Camrose, Alberta, along with my brother, our spouses, and our kids. Just a quick reminder, I don't want to pull up Tom Steve, so make sure that your phone is on vibrate, or even better, off. At this moment, I would like to call the meeting to order. I would like to welcome you here today and let you know that this meeting is being broadcast live on the APG website. We've had great feedback from last year when we did this, and we'd like to start a trend that we're hoping the other commissions will follow. Please join me as we take a few moments to acknowledge some of the guests we have. We have special guests from the Ontario Bean Growers, Saskatchewan Pulse Growers, Pulse Canada, and Grain Growers of Canada. Representatives from our other Team Alberta Crop Commission members, as well as Marketing Council. Thank you to other stakeholders of our organization who have taken the time out of their day to join us. And finally, thank you as producers for joining us at our AGM. APG's vision and mission for our growers comes down to helping you sell more pulses. There you'll see a quick introduction of our board of directors. I would ask the directors please stand when their name is announced. From Zone 1, we have Rodney Volk and Greg Stamp. From Zone 2, we have Doug Sell and Allison Amater. From Zone 3, Chris Allum and Dan Visser. From Zone 4, Caroline Sekulik and Jerome Isaac. And from Zone 5, Don Shepard and myself. Our director at large for the dry bean growing areas is Tim Vanderhoek. And our director at large for the non-bean area is John Kowalczyk. I would also like to recognize two advisors that will be coming on to the board at the end of this meeting, and that would be from Zone 2, Kalisha Archer, and from Zone 5, Robert Semeniuk. I think you guys will do a great job on the board, but you'll be busy. Our advisors. I'm not going to list them all, but the advisors are a key part of growing our organization. They are that grassroots connection within the zones that then feed into our directors and then into the central board. As with all the commissions, we can't do the work we do unless we have the great staff that we have. They include Jolene Watson, who is our levy coordinator, Carmen Mine, our office administrator, Rhonda Lafayette, who is our business manager, Rachel Peterson, communications, Deborah McLennan, our food and nutrition coordinator, Nevin Rosasin, our policy and program specialist, Jagrup Jill Kalan, who is our research officer, Jen Walker, our research manager, and Leanne Fishbrook, our executive director. The staff will be around during FarmTech. Please take an opportunity to meet with them and thank them for the hard work they do. All right, on to the business portion of our meeting. Everyone should have got a copy of the agenda in their package when they came in. As a reminder during this meeting, if you wish to be recognized, please speak. Please go to one of the microphones so that everyone else can hear you as well. But at this point, I'll ask, are there any additions to the agenda? Would someone please move to approve the agenda as presented? Rodney Volk. Seconder? Chris Allum. All in favor? I think you got little cards. If you could use those, that would be easier to see. Thank you. Carried. Also in your package, there would have been the minutes from our last meeting. that's not yet. From January 31st, 2018. Did anyone see any errors or omissions in those? If not, could I have someone move to accept the minutes as presented? Chris Allen, seconder. Harold Hogan. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. All right, Chair's report. I think most of us agree that 2018 had its share of challenges, and we'd maybe like to put that behind us and look forward to 2019 with some optimism. For Alberta pulse growers, it would be a similar situation. We had a mixture of successes and challenges, but we continue to move forward on our areas of focus. Research, extension, and advocacy would be, I think, the three top within our organization. Our staff has worked hard in the area of research. We've gone through the science cluster negotiations and agreements. And as we continue to go forward, research is a very high priority for us and for the continued success of our organization, and accounts for about 46% of our actual dollars spent. Extension, areas like plot the field have been a huge success for our organization. That ability to take small plot research and then take that to field scale, I think is a great thing that we've developed. The protocols we've developed and the cooperators and the technical people involved in that have been fantastic. It's become the envy of other organizations across the nation who have asked us questions on how we've done it and looking to copy what we've done. Advocacy. Pulse Canada continues to be our national voice on areas that concern us as a national level. Our focus on whether that is selling more pulses both nationally or internationally, or in the areas of advocacy or helping us in trade negotiations. The India situation has been a challenge for us, of course, in this last year, and they continue to work on our behalf, and so we thank them for that. Provincially, the Team Alberta approach has been a huge success, working along with our fellow commissions in canola, barley, and wheat. We've been recognized both at the provincial level and national level as being a great force for our producers. It's hard to believe it's been 6 years that I've done this, and I'm coming to the end of my term, and I really enjoyed the experience and the ability to represent producers in my zone, and then at the zone, and then further at the chair of the board. But that hard work cannot be done without the fantastic staff that we have, and I've been just so proud of the group that we've got, because they're so well recognized both provincially and nationally for their expertise, and they've made my job so much easier. Next up is the Executive Director's Reports. We're going to have a video with Leanne here.
The 2017-18 year for Alberta pulse growers was actually quite difficult. Harvest was moving along quite fine in the fall, and we managed to get through it, and farmers were feeling fairly optimistic. Then November came, and we learned very early on that India had given tariffs which affected the global pulse trade, including Canada. These tariffs were very substantial and really threw a wrench in what farmers were going to be doing for the upcoming year. Farmers were considering what to grow, and pulse crops became somewhat of a question. In the end, we did see this year that farmers reduced acres. They actually went down from the 2.3, 2.4 million we were at the past couple of years, down to about 1.8 to 1.9 million. At one point we thought it was going to be worse than what it was, but farmers understand what pulse crops do in rotation, and that's important, and so many still had pulses incorporated into their production. India has not been resolved over the past year, but we are working hard with our national organization, Pulse Canada, to see how we can better access and get more transparency in understanding when various countries put on trade restrictions. In addition, what India has taught us is that we need to diversify our markets more. And so through our national organization, Pulse Canada, we are supporting the 25 by 2025 strategy. This strategy is one where we are looking at putting 2 million metric tons of production into diversified products and markets. And we hope that this will be an opportunity where we're not going to be getting caught and stuck with one market for our products. Another important thing that we worked on this year was our advocacy role. Alberta Pulse Growers has really increased our opportunities to start telling our stories. And we've done this provincially through our work with Team Alberta. And we are also doing it federally through our work with Grain Growers of Canada and also with our Team Alberta counterparts going to Ottawa. Some of the topics that we continue to bring forward for the elected officials has been market access and free trade opportunities. In addition, there's environmental sustainability and the efforts that farmers go to continually make the land profitable for them, but something they can pass on to their kids. In addition, we look at transportation and we comment how the movement of grain has been an important thing for farmers, and making that strong voice for the grower community with Ottawa is critical to continuing to have good dialogue on that particular topic. And finally, the Pesticide Management Regulatory Agency. This organization will be affecting, their decisions affect farmers quite significantly, and we need to be able to bring our farmer voices forward. In addition to the advocacy that we've focused in on this past year, we've also not forgotten research. Research has been a critical component for Alberta Pulse Growers for many years, and it continues to be. We set aside some money when prices were high and pulse crops were plentiful, and the money was used to invest into the agri-science cluster projects. We are supporting these projects moving forward with over $2.4 million worth of research for 5 years, looking to address the various questions that we have with the pulse industry. Another positive that we did this year was the expansion of the plot to field project. So taking small plot research and moving it forward into field scale operations, but yet following a full research protocol. This effort was increased to include the Peace region this year. So now we have data points from all across the province, and we're looking forward to the results and seeing where we're at with our questions. Finally, one of the most critical things that we did this past year was a strategic financial review. We took a look at our levy at 1%, and we said, what could we do as an organization with this? And we felt that there's an opportunity to reduce our levy. We decided, and was supported by the board and the membership, to reduce the levy from 1% down to 0.75. This will not affect the way the organization runs its business. The organization will still be putting money towards research, to extension, to advocacy, and also to communications. In addition, we looked at some organization improvements over the course of the year. These improvements included expanding staff, and we added an additional person in the research area with our organization, and also looked at moving our offices to a new and more functional office space. We really want you, the grower, to know that we're here for you. We are here to support the diversification and the growth of the industry. We're here to bring your issues forward, and we're here to assist in collaborating with our counterparts here in the province, as well as our national Pulse counterparts and others across Canada, to bring your issues forward so that we can help you grow more pulses and sell more pulses. We are here for you.
So last year when we played that video, some thought that Leanne wasn't here. I assure you she is. And we thank you for the message. At this point, I would like to call on Doug Sell, who's the chair of our Audit and Finance Committee, to come to the podium to give the provincial financial report.
Good afternoon. I'm going to present the audit financial reports, or my version of them. Before I do that, I'm going to have a very short editorial preamble. The democratic process works as it was intended within the structure of Alberta Pulse Growers. APG, as Leanne had mentioned in the video there, undertook a strategic financial review when those whisperings of a mounting revenue stream became louder and more noticeable. But one point that I think needs to be reinforced is that APG is really quite unique when compared to its fellow commissions here in Alberta, in that we do research work for 5 very specific commodities: peas, dry beans, lentils, chickpeas, faba beans, and of course even requests come in for soybeans and lupins and those kind of things. So yes, the 1% levy was higher, but so too are the asks of the growers and the industry partners who want and need those that type of research work to be done. So that strategic financial review led to that levy reduction that Leanne had mentioned. It was actually 1 year ago here where we passed that levy change, going from 1% down to 0.75%, and it became effective on August the 1st of this past year. So I'm going to share now the results of the report. We engaged MNP LLP as our auditors, and the audit was completed for the fiscal year ending July 31st, 2018. Auditors presented to the audit findings to the board on October 31st, and I am pleased to report that APG received a clean audit. The auditors have supplied an independent and qualified opinion based upon the following stipulation: that they are only able to audit the funds that APG receives through dealers through their service fee collection. That statement is clearly outlined on page 17 in the independent auditor's report. Detail of what you see here will be on page 18, beginning with a summary of the statement of financial position, the balance sheet for the organization as of July 31st, 2018, in comparison to July 31st, 2017. With balance sheets, assets must equal liabilities plus equity. Total assets have increased slightly this past year, running primarily off a good investment performance, increasing our cash investment values over 2016-2017. Liabilities doubled from last year. The most significant reason was the accounts payable primarily for research expenditures and accruals and the leasehold inducement for the new location. This inducement was negotiated with the landlord to support renovations to the property prior to APG moving into that new location, and that lease runs for 10 years. With members' equity, APG reserves shows contracted payments going out over the next 5 years or longer in some cases. These reserves are funds in the amount of $14 million committed to others but not being expensed yet, such as yearly funding for research to the science cluster and future secured payments to our national organization, Pulse Canada, to ensure that we are continuing to support their important work for our industry. Within our equity, APG has had an increase in capital assets with those leasehold improvements. APG is in a deficit position of $433,000 in accumulated surplus as at the end of July 2018. This means that there are $433,000 in commitments that extend beyond the current fiscal year. APG reduced the amount of deficit from last year's deficit of $3.36 million. Overall, assets equal liabilities, Overall, assets equal liabilities plus equity, and as you can see in the slide, APG is still in a strong financial position, even with that deficit. Moreover, by setting aside funding when APG had a significant accumulation of levy and extending that funding to cover longer-term commitments, we have sheltered our organization against some of the challenges we saw this year with the market access and reduced prices. These reserves will be invested making sure that important work in the areas of research and supporting the national efforts can continue for the foreseeable future. Moving on to revenue and expenditures as of July 31st, 2018, the detail for this you would find on page 19 of the annual report. Not surprisingly to pulse growers, the table shows that our revenue for 2017-2018 in green has decreased from the previous year. Our main source of revenue is service fees or levy collection, and in 2017-2018, it was $6.06 million, coming off significant revenue in both 2016 and the previous year, 2015-2016. We can attribute that reduction to a major challenge with our largest export customer, which we all know is India. On the expenditure side, last year APG was up by nearly $1 million at 5.45 versus the 4.37 in 2016-2017. This included about $700,000 in research and market development expenditures over the past year. As well, APG saw increased activity in the areas of risk management and sustainability with our organization's advocacy role with Team Alberta, increased support of Grain Growers of Canada, work on submissions on the PMRA, and support of Ag Safe Alberta, as well as in administration, again with costs that were related to the new location. Even with those increases, APG ended the year with a positive income statement of $608,000. Of note within the expenditures, we are also reporting that APG has a refund request rate of 5.2%, down from the previous year at 8.7%. APG refund percentage is reflective of the amount of money that is requested out of the total levy collected. And it is approximately 3% of the current membership of the organization that requests their service fees to be returned. With the current fiscal year, APG is watching closely the development on market access and is monitoring our levy intake at the 0.75% level. With less funding coming to the organization, we are watching our budget and doing the best to continue to provide advocacy, extension, and research to address our members' questions as we have done in the previous years. This will conclude my presentation of the financial statements. I encourage you to read the statement in detail, and if you have questions, you can use one of the two mics. And if you have questions, you are dealing with a half-deaf farmer, and I would be calling up Chris from MNP to answer any questions. If there are none, I would like to thank the members of the Audit and Finance Committee, and especially, as Darcy already said, really thank the staff for the work that I have seen and grown really to appreciate in the last 6 years. You do a fantastic job. And also want to thank MNP for their work on this file as well.
Okay, at this point, I would call on a motion to accept the Alberta Pulse Growers 2017-18 financial statements. Tim? And, Jerome, seconds. Any further discussion on the financial statements? Seeing none, all in favor? That would be carried. As well, we need a motion to appoint MNP LLP as auditors for 2018-19's fiscal year. John Kowalczyk, seconder. Chris Allen. All in favor? Carried. I'd like to thank Doug and the rest of the Audit and Finance Committee for their hard work this past year. It's not always an easy job and not something that everyone all likes to do, but it's a very important and necessary role. At this point, I'd like to invite Zone 4 Director, Caroline Suckulick, and Zone 1 Director, Greg Stamp, to the podium to conduct the APG elections for the 2 Director-at-Large positions. These are one-year APG board positions.
This year, APG shared with the membership that we requested names to be brought forward for our Director-at-Large positions by January the 15th, 2019. APG has 2 positions that we elect every year, the Director-at-Large for beans and the Director-at-Large for non-beans. We had 2 names put forward for the 2 available positions. The biographies are available in the AGM package. This process does not preclude us from asking for nominations from the floor. As defined by our regulations, APG requires that you are a member of the organization by having paid a service charge or levy by having sold pulses in Alberta in the past 2 years. For the position of Director-at-Large Bean, I would like to call for the nomination. Any other nominations? For the 3rd time, I'd like to call for nominations for the position of Director-at-Large Bean. Thank you. I think that Will has already been nominated, but I thank you very much. And so can I have a motion to cease nominations? Chris Allen, thank you. And a seconder? Rodney Volk? Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you, Will Mueller. I'd like to ask Will to quickly say a few words about himself.
Hello. So I was told last night I'd do a brief introduction and to wear a tie, and I failed at one of those things, so it's probably not a really good start for me being on the board. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Will Mueller, and I farm near Bow Island. It's just half-hour west of Medicine Hat, and I'm currently farming with my brother and my dad. And for pulses, we grow dry beans on irrigation and some lentils on dry land. I'm your past chair of Zone 1. So I was interested to see what happens at its own level. So excited to be on the board, I guess. Thank you.
For the position of Director-at-Large non-bean, can I have nominations open?
I want to nominate Peter Constable from Spirit River.
So Jerome nominates Peter Constable. Is there a, do we need a seconder for that? Okay. Can I call for nominations for non-bean for a 2nd time? And a 3rd time, I'll call for nominations for non-bean. Seeing none, can I have a motion to cease nominations? Doug Sell, a seconder. Sarah Hoffman. And all in favor? Okay. Opposed? Carried. So I'd like to have Peter to come on up and introduce yourself to us, please.
I'll keep this quick here. Didn't have a speech ready, prepared, so just excited to be director and see what kind of direction we're going to take with the zone. So look forward to it. So thanks.
He's efficient.
All right, well, thank you very much, and congratulations to Will and Peter, and look forward to seeing you on the board. At this point, I would like to call on Don Shepard and Ron Wersta from the manager of the Seed Clean Plant in St. Paul to the podium.
Yes, thank you, everybody. The Alberta Pulse Growers selected Kirsty Ross, who was instrumental in building the field pea industry in northern Alberta, as the winner of the 5th annual Alberta Pulse Industry Innovator Award. Now, our area in northeast Alberta, it's a little bit unique, but you figure out after a while that this whole province is unique in its growing areas. So you have to understand that as we look to what's been accomplished in our area, we're pretty proud of some of our people, and Kirsty's one of them. We recognize a person or an organization whose progressive thinking and tireless efforts helped build Alberta's pulse industry into the flourishing sector that it is today. Kirsty became a visionary for the pulse industry in northeast Alberta. She introduced a new crop that had no history in the area. She persevered through the use of grower groups to advance the crop to a place of prominence in rotations in our area. Kirsty's commitment to the farming community is not forgotten and is very well appreciated by those of us all affected by her work. As a provincial district agriculturist for the St. Paul area in the late 80s, Kirsty started to look for another option to add to the area's crops and generate more cash flow to farmers. She began to organize field trials after becoming intrigued by the nitrogen cycle and nutrients that pulses provide to the soil. Add to this that at that time the St. Paul area was also home to a high concentration of hogs, and the result that there was an increasing number of producers starting to grow field peas. The St. Paul seed cleaning plant, which Ron has been the manager of for several years, many years, became involved as they saw a future for cleaning dry peas for human consumption. Ross noted that growing the field pea industry in what became Ross noted that growing the field pea industry in what became Alberta Pulse Growers Zone 5 was a collaborative effort that was successful because of the efforts of producers, grower groups, agriculture service boards, plant breeders, and many more. Ron?
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you. From myself and the Northeast producers of Alberta, thank you, Kirsty. Your drive and dedication for new crop development for pulses is major use in today and much appreciated. A lot of growers that you mentored are still growing pulses today, and we're still convincing new ones to grow. So thank you very much. Kirsty, you were instrumental in changing producers' lives along with mine. Listening to your research, information, and in-field demos helped start my career in knowledge and persistence. Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
So Kirsty, could you come up, please? Sorry, Jen. You moved us. So Kirsty, I'll put that back on the panel for you before you take it down. It's loose, but here you go. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hi, it's so nice to see a great group of people at this annual general meeting. I know when I first started that we probably just filled a small room in a hotel area. So to see it like this is, it makes me extremely proud. So it's really good. And thank you both Ron and Dawn for that wonderful introduction. I must say that I was stunned and humbled when I got the email from Rachel that I had won this award. And I just want to do a little bit of a thanks to some of the people that I worked with and to tell my story about my work with field peas. And I want to say that it was a support in my early years. People like Bob Park, Ellis Treffry, both with Government of Alberta, they gave me the encouragement to work with this new crop and field peas in Northeast Alberta. They sourced pea seed varieties for me and guided me on those first field trials. I didn't have access to plot equipment in those days, so it was really whatever drill and harvest equipment that somebody was kind enough to let me use. So it was really quite an effort. And those were the days, if any of you remember, of trapper peas with the 9-foot vines that wrapped around everything, and people were looking at me like I was nuts. What? We're not growing this thing up here. And we also used cement mixers for inoculating, and there maybe was 1 or 2 herbicides that were even licensed for use on field peas. And when we put them on, everything curled up like this, and they'd go, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "It's going to come out of it." And they did, and they were able to harvest them. And it was the visual of those trials that the innovators, and in this I mean the real innovators, that's the growers, they began to put in some acres of field peas on their farms. And I started a grower group, the St. Paul Field Pea Growers, and we got together monthly, and I brought in experts for production and marketing. And we all shared each other's stories about what we were doing, what was going wrong, or what was going right. Together, we learned about this crop. I put out monthly newsletters, and it was just a real team effort for getting this particular crop going. And at first, we thought in the area that it was going to be for hog feed because there was a high concentration of hogs in a certain pocket, and we thought, well, yeah, and there were cattle and everything else, so we thought that that's where the field peas were going to go. But as the group learned more about the markets and the potential marketing avenues, they began to look at the human consumption market. What a natural fit for the St. Paul seed cleaning plant to come along. And they were able to go in and clean the peas, and as we know, are strong marketers of field peas from that area. And they also lent me a hand in lending me land behind the St. Paul Seed Cleaning Plant, where we formed the Agricultural Center of Excellence. And we were able to get plot equipment at that time with the help of the Lakeland Agricultural Research Association. And eventually, we were able to get some advanced pea lines, field pea breeding lines under the guidance of Dr. Stan Blade out there so that we could also be part of the research community. And the St. Paul Agricultural Service Board was by my side the whole way, and I couldn't have done any of it without them, and with the help from Dennis Berkheim, who was the agricultural fieldman. And then when the Alberta Pulse Commission came into being and a Zone 5 was created, then we realized that field peas were going to become an alternative crop for that particular area. I also want to give a nod to my 2 children, Robert and Celine, who is here with me, who were instrumental in the early years in weeding plots. And in those days, they did it for a 7-Eleven Slurpee. Oh, yeah, then they realized, what, you're paying these guys to weed plots? What about me? So that sort of didn't last forever. But I just wanted to say, it was a great journey. It was a lot of dedication from the people that were the innovators out there, the growers behind, whether it was with the service board or with the seed cleaning plant or the grower group, they were the ones that really put the risk in and that really took that leap. And I'm so proud to hear, looking at the numbers and everything about where this pulse industry has gone from when I was there. And I'm really proud of this particular award, but just knowing that I was really just the middleman, and it was people like you that really built this industry. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Yes, thank you very much, Christy, for your hard work and dedication to our industry. It's people like yourself that continue to make us the success that we are. At this time, I'd like to call on Dawn Shepard and Caroline Sucklick, who will present the update on the resolutions from last year as well as the resolutions for 2019.
Okay. So last year we had one resolution from Zone 5, and at the bottom it says there's a follow-up that at our zone meeting this year that we discussed the request and decided not to pursue it. So that was handled there, but we've also invested in Lakeland College with their farm, the on-farm school that they have, and we'll be working with them for a second year on trials, and this year it's phosphorus, so it'll be kind of cool, and they've been a great help to us. Caroline, I guess I go one. Yep.
New business. Now on to this year's resolution. APG reminds you that we do not accept resolutions from the floor. Growers were invited to bring resolutions forward until January 15th of this year. APG received one resolution at the deadline, and there's a copy in your AGM package. It's Resolution 1, 2019, title, Carbon Levy Exemption Expansion. The author is Michael Burry, and it was referred to the Resolutions Committee of the Alberta Pulse Growers Commission. This resolution states, whereas Alberta farm fuel requirements change from year to year and currently only farm diesel fuel and gasoline are exempt from the carbon levy, natural gas and propane fuels are not exempt. There are many types of Alberta farms and they all rely exclusively on seasonal weather for success. When inclement weather occurs, as it can, farmers rely heavily on gas-fired grain dryers, heated stock barns, and heated machine shops, all requiring large amounts of natural gas or propane. Therefore, be it resolved that Alberta Pulse growers work with like-minded commissions to advocate to government that the carbon levy exemption for farm fuel be expanded to include all farm grain drying and heating fuel. This was moved by Michael Burry and seconded by Zoltan Jeremy. Does the mover, Michael Burry, wish to speak to the resolution?
Yes, at our Zone 5 meeting, everybody came off of a 80-day 4-snow harvest, and everybody was a little excited about their carbon taxes that they were paying. So we just felt that it would be fair that the farmers do their part, and that sometimes we're doing more than what we should, and paying the levy on drying fuel when the sun won't do it, and paying the levy on natural gas for heating hog barns, just we're growing food, so we're doing our part. So I'd like everybody to support this resolution.
Thank you, Michael. Does the seconder, Zoltan Jeremy, wish to speak to the resolution?
No, I think Mike covered everything.
Thank you. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the resolution? Seeing none? Seeing none, are there any further comments from the mover or seconder? And please vote with your voter cards. All in favor? Are there any opposed? Seeing none.
Are we done? Yes. Okay, Darcy, there you go. Thank you. Thanks, Caroline.
Thank you, Caroline and Dawn. Well, we already know the results of the election. Will and Peter were nominated in their acclamation, so congratulations. Other business. Every 5 years, APG is required to complete a thorough review of our regulations. The organization has reviewed the documents and have been communicating to membership over the past fall at the zone meetings on recommendations for changes to the marketing plan regulations and the marketing regulation. Growers learned of the changes through the 5 regional meetings that took place in November and December, and growers received a summary document of the changes with their APG annual report that was mailed directly to you. The proposed changes have been summarized on the slide, and we did not receive any questions related to those proposed regulatory changes to date. Is there any questions that anyone has at this meeting? Okay. So then these will then go with, to Marketing Council to get our update our rules and regs. At this point, I would ask if there is any other new business to come before the organization. And if so, please go to the mic. So Gordon Tuck is at mic 2.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, okay. Yeah, this is not new business, apparently. Yeah, we discussed it a little bit at our meeting this morning, and APG has the app out in regards to having information flow from the Alberta Pulse Growers and Alberta RV trials and everything else. And I just hope that everybody is aware of it, that it's out there, and how simple it is to use, you know, to gain knowledge on the information that's being shared. And apparently it's going to expand quite a bit more. I just wonder if anybody wants to make further comments.
Well, I didn't plant you in the audience, Gordon, but this year, APG created a new tool for growers to access information and data on the pulse variety trials. Variety trial results are critically important to our growers and have been a priority for us for many years. This year, APG invested significant funding and time in running the RVTs on our own, and part of that revamped program included the launch of the APG RVT app. So you can find it on Google Play and iTunes under at APG RVT. This tool is launched in November and extended Pulse RVT information out to our growers. It allows us also to begin communicating to growers through the app, and in looking to further enhance the functions to showcase important and timely information to growers, like the use of the Ask a Kida scorecard and other scouting tips, as well as key information on the progress of disease and weed pressure throughout the province. We see this tool as timely and important to any grower who is interested in pulses, and I'm pleased to see it launched and to hear from growers the positive feedback from it. We encourage everyone to download it and use it over the coming year. Is there any further questions? All right. At this time, I would call on Don Shepard, our Vice President, to the podium.
As we near the close of our AGM this year, we must recognize the contributions of members who are leaving the provincial board. This year, we have a third of our directors leaving our organization, so there's 4 of them. 2 directors who have completed the maximum number of terms with the organization, and 2 have participated fully and successfully with the positions of director at large for 2 and 3 years. At present in our regulations, APG has an allowance for directors to be active on the provincial board for up to 2 3-year terms, and in some special arrangements when elected to national positions, an additional 3-year term can be sanctioned. For directors at large, it is still a 1-year term. APG's 2 directors at large, John Kowalczyk for non-bean and Tim Vanderhook for bean, have actively represented growers for 2 and 3 years respectively. Both have experienced the pinnacle of events through the 2016 International Year of Pulses. Both have worked hard to advocate for APG through our efforts as Team Alberta, and both have fully challenged the board and supported the outcomes in discussions at meetings. John was active at APG's Extension Committee, Research Committee, as well as Audit and Finance. We will miss your soybean knowledge because that's someone who's been doing it for quite a while and has persisted, and it's a very interesting journey that John has taken. And your social media savvy, so if any of you don't follow John Kowalczyk on Twitter, well, you're missing something. And as well as your ability to engage and be involved when the organization needed you. Tim has been involved in the APG Research Committee, an alternate representative for Grain Growers of Canada for APG, as well as being a strong advocate for agriculture safety education, and remains on the board of AgSafe Alberta as the APG representative. We will miss your resilient support for bean growers, always keeping in mind the benefits in board decisions for those members. Could the both of you stand? They're together over there. Tim, John, thank you both for your contributions to this organization. You guys will be missed. Thank you. We had a board meeting on Monday, so we recognized them there too, so. But thank you. Doug Sell, APG Zone 2 Director, has participated with the organization for a total of 6 years. During his term, he has been an active member on the Extension Committee, the Audit and Finance Committee. Doug has also acted as the 3rd member of the executive for the organization for 2 years during his 6-year term. Doug also received experience sharing important messages about APG with elected officials testifying in front of federal committees during his time with APG. Doug committed to many external activities of the organization, including representing Pulses on the Canadian Grain Commission, Pulse Subcommittee, and Western Standards Committee, as well as representing APG at Grain Growers of Canada for 4 years, including most recently when Grain Growers of Canada worked through its transition. Doug chaired the GGC Sustainability and Sound Science Committee, which has worked on providing comment to federal consultations on the PMR reevaluations. Thank you, Doug, for all your work for APG, as well as contributions to one of the important national partners in Grain Growers of Canada. Doug, thank you. Thank you. And Doug was a real help to me as a new director and a good, steady influence. And finally, Zone 5 Director and Chair of APG, Darcy Hillgardner, is completing 6 years at the end of the meeting. Darcy has filled many roles during his time with the organization. He began on the provincial board as a director at large, spending 1 year in that role, then running to take on the full 3-year director term representing Zone 5. During his time, Darcy has been involved with the Marketing Council, Marketing Committee as Director and as Chair, Audit and Finance as Chair, Vice Chair, and now Chair of APG for the last 2 years. Darcy's efforts also included significant time on external committees for the organization. Darcy took on the role for the Western Canadian Pulse Growers, representing Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta pulse growers on the Western Grains Research Foundation for a 3-year term. Darcy, in his various roles for the organization, has been called upon to advocate with Team Alberta provincially and in Ottawa, and also testify for the organization when called upon. In addition, Darcy has graciously stepped up to the microphone when ABG needed a voice on various issues, including the challenges of growers through the past couple of harvests. Darcy, you have been an exemplary chair, and like chairs before you, you'll be a hard act to follow. Thank you, Darcy. And it's been great having you as a Zone 5 partner. Thank you. So I was to help get a recognition. That's for, okay. You guys have to tell me something. Darcy, we have this for you. Come, please. Yeah, we're going to miss you. So here you go, Darcy. This is for you. There you go. Thank you all.
Thank you for those kind words, Don. I've really enjoyed my time on this board. It's been a great experience. I wish the new board well, and I look forward to seeing where we go with this industry. I leave the board more committed to pulses than I was before, and I look forward to seeing you all in the future. Thank you very much. Now, as I look at my watch, and I see that it is actually 4 minutes early in our time slot, I'm going to take it that that's because of my organization and not the fact that I'm, one session away from you guys in beer. I am going to call this meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.